I'm Jeff Sorensen. I'm Dean and Paula's oldest son.
I'm Shireen Sorensen. I'm Jeff's wife, and I am a daughter-in-law to Dean and Paula.
I'm Sherry Hawker, and I am Dean and Paula Sorensen's oldest daughter.
So I'm John Hawker. I'm married to Sherry.
I am Julie Huntsman. I am Dean and Paula's third child, second daughter.
My name is Dan Huntsman. I am Dean and Paula's son-in-law. I married their second daughter.
I'm Steve Sorensen, son of Dean and Paula Sorensen.
My name is Ronette Sorensen. I am married to Steve and I'm their daughter-in-law.
My name is Mark Sorensen. I am the fifth child of Dean and Paula and their favorite.
Jamie Sorensen, daughter-in-law, married to Mark.
Hi, my name is Amy Sidaway and I am Dean and Paula Sorensen's daughter.
Sean Sidaway. I am the son-in-law to Dean and Paula Sorensen.
You know, right off, it just takes me back to when he did pass. It was a great experience. I don't mean to cry already, but we were all gathered together around on the bed. I was holding his hand and we watched him take his last breath, and it was really a spiritual experience. I thought, it takes me back. Who wants to lose their dad on Father's Day? But it was a really tender, sweet experience to watch him pass from this life to the next.
When Dad passed, he passed away on Father's Day. And to me, that's just symbolic of who he was.
Well, it's hard to lose a dad. I think one of the memories that comes to mind is right before his passing. He was up late in the night and I was there to kind of keep an eye on him. And we went into the kitchen and had a bowl of peaches, and we were able to talk to each other. And it was really the last time that he was able to converse really with anybody in the family, and it was a treasured memory to spend that one last moment with my dad.
It just seems like time just passes so quickly. You know, when I think about it, I think of just how much I miss my dad, though. You know, I'm happy that we've been able to make it through the last 10 years without him. When he passed, I just wondered how we would ever.
I think, wow, that's been a long time without our dad, and I can't believe it's been 10 years now.
Well, I think of the day that he did pass was on a Father's Day. And, you know, of all the fathers and what a good example they are to families, Dad was just a super, super great father. He just really did this holiday justice. You know, Father's Day, we celebrate Father's Day, and he was a wonderful, wonderful father to us.
You know, I think my earliest memory is when I went to Dean to ask permission if I could marry his daughter. And he, in a very nice and smiling manner, grilled me pretty well and wondered what my goals were, what I was going to do with the rest of my life, how I was going to treat his daughter, and how many grandkids he was going to get.
You know, I remember one instance, me and Jeff were up on the couch, probably kissing, and Dean walks up the stairs. "Hi kids, how are you doing?" And I remember just being mortified and so embarrassed, but he was just so sweet and so cute, and so, but I just remember always feeling very comfortable when I would go to their home.
Dad used to, you know, make us laugh, and you know, as we'd go to bed, he always, you know, he'd tease, and again, one of his signature moves was tickle mouse to make us all laugh and kind of go to bed happy.
Dad had a little Honda 50 motorcycle that he would take us on, and we could squeeze around his waist, and he'd drive us up and down the streets and around the backyard, and that was lots of fun.
Camping in our bus. As a little boy sitting down by the steps by the front door of the bus, watching the street go by, and just memories of camping.
Boy, you know, I guess I remember being in 5th grade and him coming and sneaking me out of class and taking me out to it's the Ricks College Equestrian Center, and they were having a horse show that was going to be done that night, and I got to watch him practice and have a day with my dad and not go to school.
When I went to talk to him about proposing to Amy if I could have his permission, and I met him in his office, and shortly after, of course, he said, of course, and as we were walking out with his secretary, he told his secretary in a very loud voice that I'm going to fulfill his dreams of having red-headed grandchildren, and I had to remind him, please don't say anything yet, because I first need to ask her to marry me. So we had a good laugh about that one.
You know, I don't think I ever heard my mom or dad, speak negatively about anyone. They're just so positive, and I think, and I'm hoping that that's something that I've learned and tried to apply in my own life, is to just be positive, to see the good in people and the bright side of life.
Dad was so good about when you were in the room with him, he gave you his full attention. He made you feel like you were important, and he was listening, and he was very good at that with people. I also remember one of his things that I learned from him was kind of and then some. There's that poem about and then some. Always do a little bit more than you're asked to, and you'll get a bigger reward for that last little bit.
I'd say my dad taught me to always try and make people feel happier after they visited them when you found them. He was just always one that was building up people, and I always admired that about him, that he was a builder and he loved making people happy, and I just really respected that. And he taught me a lot about treating people is one of the most important things, just how you make people feel.
He also taught me to ride a motorcycle when I was very young. He had a little black Honda motorcycle, and he had stake meetings, but I'd go with him on the back of the motorcycle, and then while he was in meetings and in the church, I'd spend the whole night going around the parking lot, just zooming around, practicing shifting, and anyway, it was a lot of fun.
Just to love people and to serve people, and just to listen to them, and not to be judgmental, but just to help lift and assist others along the journey of life.
Dad taught me to be a hard worker and to always be kind to everyone, and that school is really important.
One thing that's kind of fun about Dean that is a little bit unique, I guess, to us is we were able to give him the best birthday present ever, and that was his first granddaughter, Nicole. And so that is always kind of a fun memory, being able to call him on his birthday and saying, hey, we have our little babies here. We didn't know what we were having, a girl or a boy. So it was fun to be able to have Nikki and just, those early years when they'd come to our house, and even though we live far away, they had a great relationship with our kids. And, I could tell from an early age that Nate just admired his grandpa.
I also remember one time when Dad was up on campus in a bishopric, if I have this right, but I remember going to a dance with my dad, and I remember being there with a bunch of college kids. They were older kids, and it was just so fun to be dancing with my dad that evening. That was a really fun memory.
There was one fella that I went by to collect, and every month he would just tease me and say I'm not gonna pay, or I already paid, and just harassed me quite a bit. And when I finally told my dad what was happening, and my dad picked up the phone and called the guy, and he said, I want you to quit harassing my son or I'm gonna come and wring your neck. But I mean, I was just happy. I knew my dad had my back and, looking out after me. But I don't know, that was kind of one of those memories that's kind of stuck with me.
My first memory of Dean was when he drove us on our first date. Steve came and picked me up and we had pizza at their house and we went to the dance. And then Steve's dad came and picked us up and drove me home. He was also my stake president, so I ran into the house as fast as I could after the date.
One thing I think about when I think about memories of Dean is I just again think about his willingness to serve in the gospel, and him and Paula both just serving mission after mission. And I know that's hard to be away from kids as we get older now, and as we have children and grandchildren, and we think about perhaps leaving on mission sometime. It's a struggle to think about that, and I look at Dean and Paula and I appreciate so much the time and the example that they set for us as they dedicated their lives to serving the Lord. And I'm sure it was difficult for them to be away from family as much as they were, but they were amazing in setting examples for us and for our children. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that example and that memory I have of them serving and dedicating their lives.
Honestly, one of my favorite memories is just going fishing with them. With our little boat that we had, we'd put it up on top of our Scout and drive up to Henry's Lake, and at least once the boat fell off the top of the Scout while we were driving, and another time we were caught in a big storm on the lake. But those are all just fun, great memories, and just enjoying time with Dad.
He was always bringing things home from his work, like snakes, to help us not be afraid of snakes. And I don't think they were alive. I remember him pulling them out, and we'd play with the snake just to get familiar with it. It was something that he would do. Another memory is we would love to go up on the roof with him, and I don't know what we were doing, but he, on the highest part of the house, he laid down on the edge of the roof and then had me lay right next to him. I don't know what the lesson was. Maybe that I won't fall off if he's right by me.
We came over to visit, and of course we had a yogurt attack, and so we went over to Mill Hollow and got yogurt, and he was on his motorcycle, and he asked if I wanted to ride back on his motorcycle, and I was like, yes. And we got back to their house. I can remember just going, well, that was fun. I felt so rebellious.
I think one of the funnest memory is golfing with him, but one of the funniest memory that I have of him is when he came into his home. We were all there as a family. He came into his home and he gave us all a piece of bubble gum, and he said, chew away, we need to repair the roof with bubble gum. So that was a fun memory that I have of him, and I'll never forget it.
When I was 14 years old, my dad and mom came to me and they'd found me a little horse, and anyway, it was just a little Appaloosa Arabian mix, and a guy was going on a mission, and anyway, Dad took me out there and I rode this little horse around and loved it. And then the thing that was so fun was Dad hopped on this horse bareback and started riding this little horse around, and I'd never seen my dad on a horse before. So anyway, that was something kind of special to me. He knew I had a passion for horses, and he was always trying to make it happen for me. And anyway, that was just a great memory I have of my dad.
You know, I love how close of a couple they were. I love how he spoiled Paula rotten. He did everything he could to make her happy, and you could tell that they were always in love. He held hands all the time. He opened doors all the time. He drove all the time. He loved Paula, and I thoroughly admire that about him. And he loved his children. He did everything he could for them too.
They were just amazing parents, strong in the gospel. They just always accepted callings. They were so good to us kids. I mean, we were free range kids, running anywhere we wanted to, and just a lot of love in our home. And I loved how Mom and Dad loved and respected each other. And, you know, it was just a good time. You know, the camping trips and the being up at Rick's College, going bowling as a family, and Dad trying to keep our balls from going in the gutter, and, you know, the swimming. And it was really, I just couldn't have asked for better parents or a better upbringing.
It's the example that they set. So everything was always focused on the family and making sure everybody's needs were met and being able to spend time together.
I love that they were a great team. They worked well together. One of my memories of them was when I was up to the house while we were dating, is he came in and asked Steve to make sure she had new tires on her car because she was his most important. Always just little things like that, looking out for Paula.
I think I love the most about him is just how he made you feel. I don't know if my sisters know this, but I'm Dad's best girl. I was always his best girl. And so one of the things I loved about Dad is he would just always welcome you with a big hug. And how's my best girl? And I miss that. But that's one of the things I loved about Dad.
Yeah, well, another thing that I really admire and love about them is just their commitment to the gospel. You know, particularly, you know, later in their years, all the missions that they served. I mean, it's not easy to, you know, I imagine to leave your family and your grandkids and everyone and your hobbies and interests and just serve the Lord. But they just, you know, they just did it over and over and over again. And again, that's another, you know, example of, I just love that example of putting God first.
I just think both of them, they complement each other so well. You know, their personalities. And the one thing I always have admired about each of them is just the love and respect that they had for each other. And it was just such a great example. It's always been a great example to me, just what a great marriage they have and just how kind and loving they are to each other. And just something that I've always admired about, you know, both of Dean and Paula too, is they were so, this perfect combination of being enough in our lives, that they were helpful, supportive, loving, and kind, but also giving enough space that they just weren't always in our business, or they were the perfect balance.
He just loved his family, and he made everybody feel like they were the most important person on the planet. And he just always did his best to take time for his kids and to be there for them, regardless of what we were doing.
He always went the extra mile. I loved a word that he would share a lot called "and then some." And he would just try to teach us that to do what is expected of you, and then some. Try to just offer a little bit more, and the results you get out of it really double or triple over just doing what is normally expected. But if you'll do that and then some, a little bit more, you'll always get a little bit more mileage out of it. And he was great with that, great with people, always giving them little letters or notes or gift cards to Mill Hollow frozen yogurt.
I think one of the things I admire most is how my parents always build each other up and build others up. I know I have lots of memories of, especially my dad, introducing people to me, and he would tell me how wonderful they were before he said their name, and always made people feel really good about themselves and that they're doing everything right. And so he was a builder. And same with my mom, always very loving and likes to make you feel like you're doing great, and very encouraging.
I'd love to just be able to give him a big hug, tell him how much I love him and how thankful I am for him, for how he raised his family and the good man he was, the good example that he set. He truly was the best, and I'm grateful that I had that influence in my life, and that he was able to raise his children the way he did, and to have Sherry, exemplify a lot of the same qualities that Dean had, and I'm grateful for him. I would just want to tell him thanks and just give him the biggest hug I could.
I would just tell him that I love him and that I miss him. And then I'm just trying to do my best to qualify someday to see him and, to be with him again.
Sure miss you.
Just thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for me. It's just, I just love you so much, and I always have. Just a wonderful, wonderful dad, and just a kind, loving dad, and I just love you. And can't wait to see you again someday. And you're just someone very dear to me, and I've always loved you and still do.
I think I would tell him that we're trying our best to honor his name, and that we are living our lives in a way that we would want to make him proud. I don't mean to get teary on this, but Dad worked hard at loving people, and I think of him off as his wisdom and his example and how he would write notes to people. I guess I would thank him for the heritage that he gave me, thank him for his example, and thank him for his example of how he served the Lord and served his family and served others around him, and that he genuinely cared about people.
Just that I'm grateful for his example, grateful for him being my dad and raising me and working hard to raise a wonderful family.
I love you, Dad. It's been a long time. But we love you and we miss you, and appreciate all that you've done for us.
Oh, that I love him and miss him.
I would say we're still going strong. The example they set continue on also within our kids, and we're grateful for that. I would say save a place for us up there and keep a chair warm, because hopefully we can join you one of these days when the time comes. And what I enjoy most and admire most about them is just what wonderful people they are, and how much I love you both, and thank you for welcoming me into your family.
Thank you for his example, and what a great job he did on raising a wonderful family. I'm so grateful that I got to be part of their family, and they always just welcomed me. When Steve was on his mission, I would just pop over and visit them, and they were always so happy to see me. They just always have been so open and inviting, and just grateful for both of their examples.
I'd want to tell him that his family is doing well. They're safe and sound, healthy, strong, and they're all in the gospel.
That we're doing our best, and that we're, that we're gonna, try our best throughout the next few years until we can be together. And we got a glimpse of that a few years ago when we're all in the Nauvoo temple together.
I love you, Dean and Paula. You guys are great.
I love you both, and thank you for welcoming me into your family.
Love you, Dean and Paula.
I love you, Dean and Paula. Thank you for all that you've done for us.
Love you lots, Dean and Paula. Thanks for being such wonderful parents.
I love you, Dean and Paula. Thank you for being so wonderful.
Love you lots.
Mom and Dad, I sure love you. Thanks for everything.
I love you, Mom and Dad.
I love you so much, Mom and Dad. I love you.
I love you, Mom and Dad.
I love you, Mom and Dad.
There he is. He was trying to save me. And Henry West was the bishop. He says, "Joe, go wake up, Dean." I told you guys this, but the bishop came to the house, and my dad, Matt, had a bottle of beer in his hand, and he had a cigarette on the ashtray next to him. And the bishop said, "Joe, if you'd give up your smoking and give up your drinking, you'd live 10 years longer." And I was about 12 then. And I was proud of my dad because he says, "I don't know, Bishop, maybe it would just seem longer."